Ooh. All right, everybody. My name is Malcolm Williams. We're going to go ahead and get today's meeting started. It is February the 11th, right? 2020. So we're going to just go ahead and call it to order, and we're going to approve last month's minutes as well. I don't know if anybody had anything to add or change regarding that. No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move right along to item number 3, which is public comments. Right. Yep. And project reviews. So I'm not sure which ones which one we want to start with first.
So
I know we have.
Both applicants are here, so
Yeah.
do you want to start with 7040 Carroll? John, do you want to come up to the?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you just hit the little speaking button on the mic, it'll turn on.
Does that
Mhm.
get me on? Okay.
So John Manigan, right?
Yes.
If you want to just go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Yeah,
I
I'm
guess.
John Mangan. I own the
Okay.
building at 7040 Carroll. And we are, that's the building Roscoe's is in, if
Okay.
anybody does or doesn't know. If you're at the front of the building, on the left-hand side, about 6 or 7 feet back, there's a door that takes you upstairs. When we renovated the building originally in 2008, we basically replaced a door that was there with a new 9 light door. It's only a 2'6" wide door. We've had a lot of problems when people move in and out. When a tenant moved out, the door keeps getting pulled off the hinges. It opens inward, which we were allowed to do based on historic precedent, but that door really should open outward as an egress door. We had some gas lines that were changed out, so we do have a gas line that blocks the door from opening the full 90 degrees inward. So what I'd like to do is change it to an out-swinging door, and then while doing that, I'd also like to widen it to a 3-foot width. And that's pretty much it. I'd also like to make it a full light door. However, I don't feel strongly about that, but that would be what I was proposing. So I put some graphics in there.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Well, I'm all about safety, and when you talk about egress and it going outward, I'm fine with that. And plus, it's off on the side of the building. I don't think I've even noticed that you guys had a door on the side until
Yep.
you called it to attention today. And then obviously widening it, especially for wheelchair accessible folks and all that jazz.
I won't overstate that because the
Okay.
threshold is not accessible and it opens right into a stairwell that's a considerable
Okay.
run of stairs. So it's not an accessibility issue. It's really more frankly, a move-in out type of a thing. Physically,
Right.
it works fine right now, but I think it would just help everybody if we could widen it a little bit.
Okay.
Right. So, John, the process of widening your, the structure,
Yes.
what does that entail?
I am hoping we're going to do a little investigation that the header above the door is wide enough that it will not need to be changed, and all that
Okay.
would entail would be cutting back a little bit of the exterior stucco right
Okay.
now. So that's my hope. If we do have to expand the width of the header, we'd have to cut a little bit more of the stucco and put in a new header. But again, it would be a kind of a patch and replace type of a thing.
Okay. All right. I guess that's just trying to get a sense.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear you are not totally set on a single light door, because I would like to see it more consistent with the architecture
Mhm.
that you have there. So a 6 light could be good, or you had a 9 light. I don't know what was there originally, you know?
I believe it was a 9 light. I'd have to go back for the original
It'd be great
photographs.
if you do
but
that.
Anything that would have been there wouldn't have been part of the original architecture, however, because
Yeah.
the building has had several iterations. Even the front of the building, it had originally been a 4-square house. So we would do something contextual. But sure, I've got no problems trying to
Yeah.
stay in context
I mean,
with
the windows the existing windows have the right feeling for this style. So the 6/1 or,
Yeah.
are great. So if you could look at a multi-pane door, that would be great. I have to say, I worry a little bit about widening an original opening if it's not an accessibility issue. And I just want to, express that.
Oh, no, I understand where do you draw the line on those things, and I don't disagree with that. I do think that it would make no aesthetic difference to what was there. There's so much eclectic turn-of-the-century architecture in Takoma Park that, although it does have a lot of character, as it's converted itself in an overlay zone to commercial use, and people aren't familiar with those eccentricities, they take on a different character in a commercial use. In this case, I have a bunch of folks who have psychiatrist offices upstairs that have a constant flux of change of patients, and when you have that lack of familiarity with it, I think that's a lot of what code and codifying building standards is about, is trying to make commercial spaces at least familiar, just like in this building. So I'm always kind of on that balancing act, but that's kind of what I'm up against there. All of that said, I may end up, if it's cost prohibitive to widen it, I might not widen it, but that's what I would like to do.
Right. I think, how wide is the door now?
2'6", 30 inches, needs to go to 36. It'll be a 6-inch difference, ideally 3 inches to either side.
What's their standard door size these days?
A standard, well, from a code standpoint, any commercial space would have to have a 3-foot wide door, 36 foot. You have to have essentially 34 inches clear, so you can get away with it with a 2'10" door, and you can have 32 inches clear as the door tries to open, but I would be nowhere near that right now. So most commercial spaces we would always be putting in a 3-foot door by default.
Right.
But they wouldn't make you change it if you didn't.
Oh, I would have to change this door, yes. This
You
door
would, you would not have to change this.
I
door.
would have to widen this door from a code conformance standpoint. I still may be up against that with the county.
But aren't you?
Because we have a lot of smaller doors in Takoma Park that are not 36.
Of course, and they're
Yeah.
absolutely non-code conforming. If something happened, I mean, God forbid, those doors would be a non-code conforming door.
Well, and I think just from a practical standpoint, your comment that the door is too small and it makes moving in and out difficult, and as a result, it's damaging the door, the frame,
Right.
the building around it, I think that's justification enough to make this a 6-inch wider door than it currently is. I don't think, I would agree with you, in my personal opinion. I don't think that's anything anybody would ever even notice, the difference between the two of them, without actually measuring it. And then also, I would ask you, what's your preference, the multiple light or the single light?
My preference, I've got on the rear of my building next door, I've got the full light door, and I found that to be quite advantageous because when people are entering and you can see someone on the other side of the door, you don't tend to open the door into them. Now, that said, a half light, whether it's 9 lights, but the top half of the door being glazed, which you would be more used to in a residential application than in a commercial application, you can still see people. So I'm not worried about it from a safety standpoint. But my preference is it brings more light into the stairwell as a full light door. So when I'm on the top of that stair, I like the idea of knowing someone's there very easily. So I'm not going to open the door into them. That's my preference. But again, I don't have to do it that way.
To me, it speaks more to a commercial aesthetic and commercial
Yeah.
kind of understanding, which is what the building is
Yes.
now. And the door you're replacing is not, Washington didn't sleep behind that door. So,
It's not an original door.
right.
Not at all.
So I would advocate for, you should go with the door. I think you should go with the door that's your preference. I don't see that there's a real driving force behind needing to maintain
Again,
a
yeah,
multiple light
that-
door if that's not what your preference is. I think either one fits.
That would absolutely be my preference, yes. I would also like to have panic hardware that I can get onto that metal commercial door a little bit more easily. It'll be painted so that it won't look, any different, as the door is on the back of my office, which I included as a kind of a picture of a sample of what it is we're intending to do. But the panic hardware on the inside of that also works out very, very well for people trying to exit the building.
So I'm thinking about it. I think I'm all right with widening the door, John. But I would personally, and I don't know how the rest of us will feel, but I would personally rather see the architecture be similar, because I think that's important. And you don't want a commercial use you want the architecture still reflected in a commercial use, at least in our Old Town kind of feeling that we have. So to me, that aspect of it is important. So that's where I come out on this. That it's okay with the widening, but I'd like to see, a 6 or a 9 light door.
All right, I just have to say, there's a lot of single light doors in the historic business district. So, I mean, I do think there's a lot of single light doors. I mean, I'm just running through my head all the different commercial establishments that.
I think the front door of Roscoe's, isn't that a
Right.
single light?
And,
Yes.
If I'm recalling? Yeah.
Salon Jam, Cielo Rojo. There's a lot of businesses, I think. So.
Yeah, it is a transitional zone. They're not houses anymore. They were built as 4 square houses, the 3 of them there, the bike shop, Roscoe's, and Demano,
Right.
all 3 of them. And with Roscoe's specifically, in 1927, a 2-story addition was put on the front of that building to make it look quite commercial. So I don't think I'm, contradicting in any aesthetic by
Right. Well, it's also a side door,
Yeah.
so it's not front and center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see any issue with it. I think it's an improvement on the existing structure. And like you said, that's not even original to the original building.
Right.
We're just going to keep making it better and getting up to 2020 standards.
Yeah.
I think that is a narrow door. That is kind of cumbersome, probably a little clunky coming in and out of there. Wider doors, and it doesn't seem like it's interfering with anything around there. The gas lines seem like they're far enough out of the way. The electrical as well.
Yeah, yes.
It's pretty straightforward. Granted, you don't run into any structural issues when you start breaking open that stucco, but I think that's.
Yeah, you never know in that building. You're never sure what's behind
Right.
the walls. So I'm hoping I don't have bigger problems there. Yes.
We're only getting bigger as Americans, so.
Oh, and we got a pizzeria right there too, so that doesn't help.
We've supersized.
So,
So we need a resolution.
okay.
If somebody
so,
wants to move a resolution.
I'll go ahead and move a resolution to approve this. If all are in favor. I'm in favor.
I'm in favor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. So the majority.
I'm more or less in favor.
It's pretty straightforward. It's up on the side of the
Ooh.
building, so
Okay.
I don't think
So,
there's much.
Can we do a resolution that states the board supports the proposal as presented with the side door 36 inches? And then we can, or you can choose not to take a stand on what kind of door, if it's a single light or if it's something else.
Right.
I'm in favor of the single, and I know we're sort of figuring out the lingo here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and propose a resolution to go ahead and move forward with a 36-inch door, single light. I think that's fine. That's just my.
And why don't we give it the optionality that it could be either a
Right.
multiple or a single light?
That's good.
That there's
Yeah.
there is
Right.
a preference for a multiple light that's been expressed, but we're not resolute on one or the other, and that we
Okay.
would give it to him to decide ultimately what he wanted to do.
I like that.
That works.
Okay. Do we have a vote? Everybody agrees?
Yeah, we were.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second.
All right.
that.
Good,
Yeah,
thank you.
great. Thank you. Thank
John,
you very much also.
I'll send a letter to HPC and copy you in. I'll try and get it done tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. No rush.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Good.
folks.
Thank you.
John.
And Rick, you're up. You can go.
I have to.
Your call.
So I have to recuse myself from this because I'm not.
Yes,
This is my building.
yeah. So if you're
You
more
can, if
comfortable,
I guess it's not a big it is-
you could also go sit
it
over there
works
as
better.
part of the applicant team if you wanted to.
told you that.
Well, you just
Might wanna
can't vote.
Weigh in.
But you can comment and participate in the discussion, you just can't vote.
Let's see. There we go. Bobby, you can't look at this.
I think I know it.
Here, I'll introduce
So-
you first, then I'll.
So you
Okay.
were here previously.
Yeah, we were here, I think, in
and-
July.
Right, and I think
Do I
was
need to
everyone
speak in-
here a part of that presentation?
I think it was this for
I
the
know I was.
stairwell
This
in the
is
back?
The
Yeah.
stairwell and the.
Yeah.
It's a fire escape.
I think Bobby was here, though. I think she was.
So
Right.
I think we're all familiar with your original presentation.
Right,
So the question will be, you're back,
right.
things have changed.
Little
What are-
bit.
What are those things?
Yeah. I can pass the drawings around if you want, but just to start off, I mean, I went to the county to have sort of a pre-design meeting, and they reminded me that the decking can't be the open steel grids that you see like over a grate, like on the sidewalk. We're not allowed to do that. We have to have like a steel plate, which is what's there now. So that's one change, and it's
Okay.
barely a change. The major thing is that we are proposing steel balusters, like the vertical steel balusters that are much more traditional, and that really came about because of cost and availability and difficulty in fabricating them. So, and that would be,
Remind us what you had previously.
Yeah.
what's that?
Remind us what you had
Yeah,
previously in your
Yeah.
design.
Well, yeah, we had, we had steel mesh everywhere, which is a grid of steel,
Right.
steel wire. And that was going to be on the railings around the landings and the stairway. And then on the side, to the neighbor to the east, I believe. Is it the east? Maybe it's west. We're going to do mesh, and that would be a planting scaffolding
Right.
to screen from the neighbors, and we would like to keep that. But the majority of the work is the landing railings and the stair railings, and that we'd like to
And
make.
the last time you were here, I remember we made the comment suggesting that you talk to that neighbor. Was that something you had an opportunity to do?
We did.
And what was their,
They were absolutely thrilled to see us updating the fire escape, number one. And then when we explained to them how we were going to put the plants, and using the steel mesh, they were really excited about it. And they have some ideas for plants. So it was all good. They were very excited about anything and everything that we would do to upgrade the property, because their dining room window looks right out on that area.
right,
So
okay.
it was good.
Okay.
So that's really it. I can show you the drawings if you'd like to see them.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
So
those
that
are
part
those are the
hasn't
two
changed with the
major
neighbor
changes, or it's
to-
a solid.
Right.
Steel
Cool.
plates.
Side elevation.
Great.
The steel plates
Yeah.
for the
For the
the
base of it.
basic
Okay.
landings, and we were doing the open grid like what Travis Price had on
Yeah.
his
these are
stairs. I
railings
think it's
So
the
that's the
landscape
change.
company owns it now
Or the
above
vertical,
Fairdays Play.
traditional.
And so
Right,
they have
railings.
open grid, but now they're not allowing it anymore.
They'd be square.
Which you would
Maybe
think
half-inch
they
squares.
would, because
And then
like
there's
the
an
ice will melt
intermediate
and it
height,
won't
which is
pull
3
up
foot,
on the
and 6 inches higher
flooring and everything, but, they won't let us do it.
So that would be
And then
around all the
other
landings,
thing is that we wanted
stair,
to, for aesthetic reasons, we
this
wanted to do
screen
grid
for
along
the-
the
for the,
stairs. But
ducts and such.
the four people
Stay
that
in
we
that.
talked to, as far
Okay.
as
And then the side elevation. is the
fabricators
mesh
that we
with the
talked to
planting space.
create it,
Cool.
they were like,
think
we
it's
don't, we
great.
can't do it because
that's
it's
great. And the finish
galvanized
was
steel
phenomenal.
and we're painting
Finish,
and
painted
everything
steel?
else is painted, and
Everything's
so it's a difficulty as far as manufacturing it.
We can't afford galvanized.
Availability of the grid is really hard to get.
Yeah.
And, and so, I
Sounds
mean,
good.
with
That's it.
just the stairs and the
Really
length
good.
of the
It's
stairs,
gonna be
it was
gorgeous.
like
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
Yeah.
a
gorgeous.
really difficult
Back
part
in
of
there.
it to
It's
do.
gonna be a
So,
lot nicer.
like,
Yes.
It's
Right.
crazy.
It's gonna be nice to be able
So.
to come and go from the
I
back.
already
Absolutely.
know.
You already know about this stuff.
Good.
Well acquainted. So that's the
So
change.
will you be
That's-
able to
that
sit
used to
out
be
there?
steel mesh, which is
It's
actually
gonna be
still
in the
Little
happening.
space and
That's
that's
a
it?
screen
Okay.
for
A
the
little
ducts,
bit.
and then the side
Great.
planting
I'm not as
scaffold.
clear,
So
I
that would
think
stay
Bobby and
mesh,
Rick
but
might
then
have
all the
clear
landings
Yeah.
and the stair would be
some
just the traditional.
Yeah, super
I don't think
vertical,
it's like a
minor change, yeah.
It's minor,
Right.
although we need your blessing. So.
It'll look
Right.
good.
Yes.
So I would make a motion to accept
It's
the
taken a while,
proposal
though.
with the two minor changes as they've been
Seconded.
described.
It is, actually.
Seconded.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is,
think she's
really,
here.
it
I don't
is.
think
It
All
Lauren
is.
heard you.
All in favor?
Yeah,
To accept
Great.
the proposal
good job.
with the two minor changes as described.
Okay.
We just filed a motion to accept the changes. Seconded.
Yes, oh, yes.
Yep.
Aye.
Absolutely.
Aye.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Same thing, I'll do a letter addressed to
Great.
the Historic Preservation Commission. And I'll send it to you all, hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, great, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that was easy.
It's such a long process.
How much longer is your meeting approximately? Like minutes or maybe?
Do you want to
You,
ride?
you don't have time.
Well, we have to talk about the bank.
I think we have
Yeah.
to talk
I
about
don't know
Bank
how
of
long we're
America,
gonna-
so it'll be like 15 minutes, 15, 20.
We may be a little
Okay.
bit.
Maybe not.
So we had talked about adding a discussion of the Bank of America sign review. It's going to the Historic Preservation Commission tomorrow, and they support the sign as it was presented. The board was not happy about many aspects of it. So we just thought we should talk about it and see what you want to do.
Yeah, I have now seen that sign everywhere, but I haven't gone to Georgetown to see how they treated it in Georgetown, but I've seen it everywhere. I still maintain it's bad.
If I could just mention something that we, I think, forgot to put in our resolution, Roz and I were talking about this, is that when we had our discussion on this, we were concerned about not covering up the word Takoma
Yeah.
on the front, right?
Right.
And they are doing that. And I think that we have a real chance in, because it's such a part of our heritage, I think we have a real chance of the HPC listening to that and not allowing that to happen. And I started thinking even more about it a little bit, and this may be going yet a little too far, so I want to just throw this out for us to discuss a little, and that is, it's going to be so prominent on the two sides and pretty visible. Do we really need a front sign? And could we try to persuade them, and this we would, and I'll get to that, to perhaps restore the Takoma Park Bank in the building, the original, at least not cover up the word Takoma, but it would be so great if that building with its original lettering was brought back, and it would be so clearly Bank of America and everywhere you look. And I just started thinking about that today, and I wanted to throw that out to you. And one way, it was, I thought that, you know, the HPC can't regulate color, and we talked about a monochromatic, but the whole purpose of what I thought we were doing was to invite them to come back to talk with us.
Right.
And that's, I thought we were more responding to Bank of America, but they had already submitted their historic area work permit before I believe they saw us, is my understanding. And so, you know, so I think it would be so great if we could effect a persuasion between now and the hearing that they would do a preliminary consultation instead of they have to agree to that, so that they can come back to talk to us about some of these things. It would just be such a wonderful community gesture if they could restore, take off, not cover up the word Takoma at least, but if we could bring back the original lettering behind there, it'd be worth a conversation. And I don't know if we don't have it now, it just will never happen, or if we don't try to have it now, it will just never happen. And so this is what I want to suggest to you, and one of us would need to go to the HPC if we decide to bring, because it wasn't, unfortunately, none of us caught that it wasn't in the resolution, but we had clearly talked about not wanting to cover up the word Takoma.
Right.
And so the HPC staff didn't know that when they read this and wrote the staff report, and they were responding only to the sign and the fact that they couldn't control color. But I'm hoping that we could persuade the bank to do a preliminary consultation so that there doesn't have to be a yay or nay vote coming up, and that we could work together a little bit with them to make this just a little bit better, because it's such an important structure. Those are my thoughts anyway.
And I had a chance to walk by there a couple weeks ago, and all it is they put like a wooden board
Right.
over that part. I don't know if it's something they just can take off. I'm not sure what's going on underneath it. And I admittedly thought that was in this memorandum that they sent up when they listed item number 4, installation needs to reuse existing alterations to the stone. In my head, because I was sort of just reading it through quickly, I thought, oh yeah, they're going to address the original sign up front. But that was actually just speaking to like the
Right, the two sides.
the poles and all
Yeah.
that stuff that were in there. So yeah, I was disappointed to kind of just finally realize, yeah, they didn't even consider that. And really, to me, when I looked at it, it looked like they can just pull that off and just let it come
Right.
through. And they can press forward with the monochromatic sign or whatever they ultimately decide on doing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know what's underneath that. You know?
Right. No, we don't. We just
And
know,
even if it's still there, you know.
well, the lettering is still there, but so are you saying that they've just recently covered up the word Takoma? Because I have a photograph from around the time where it was still showing.
This was definitely like 2 weeks ago. I was out there
And the
just walking around.
word Takoma on the front
Mhm.
is boarded over?
It is.
Well, they did that after, okay, that's new. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's been there for a while.
No,
Because
when we,
no?
at the time, no, because at the
I think,
time, it's
isn't it-
partially
isn't it
there.
that the full
Yeah. there's a-
signage would have said Takoma Park, I'm
Bank.
guessing savings and loan,
Takoma
or
Park
bank, or
It was,
whatever.
right.
And so,
Right.
I'm again guessing that when Bank of America came in, they said, okay, well, that's in conflict. That's a bank name. It's not our bank's name. There's
Right.
a conflict here that we don't like. So they covered up the portion of it that says savings and loan or bank or
Bank,
whatever it says.
yeah.
And they
Park
left
Bank,
the part that
yeah.
says Takoma Park.
But it
They
still
left
said
Tacoma.
Tacoma.
Now you're saying that they've covered up
The word
the
Tacoma,
Tacoma portion of
Which-
it recently.
I think.
which, we should go back and double check that.
Yeah.
I have a photograph, and I'm kind of scrolling through here. At the time we heard this the last time, they had a whiteboard across most of, and Roz is remembering, but not the word Tacoma. That was not covered. It was uncovered. And so was a medallion on the far right as you're looking at it, was uncovered. And those are decorative medallions. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be beautiful to just see the original lettering and the medallions, and if they needed to
I'd
do a
absolutely
little.
agree with that. They should not have covered up the Takoma
Right.
on their own without a permit or without
I
any
agree.
approvals to do that. And then B, and I agree with you entirely, I think I would try and take this opportunity to leverage approving the other things that they want,
Right.
but getting them to remove all of that off of the front. I don't think anybody's going to get confused whether this is Bank of
No.
America or
And that becomes the most
the Takoma
important
Park
thing when you
Bank or
think about it
whatever.
Right.
all. Although you should really look, because I know, Bobby, you had some concerns about the lighting, and so you should look and see, did everyone have a chance to look at their responses to all of our
I did, but now I can't download.
comments at the time?
Do you-
Wait, I have
do
it
you-
printed out. I
do
can,
you? Oh, okay.
you can look at it in red. So I think still the most important issue remains the lettering when I look at all that. And if we didn't have a sign in the front, it would still be recognizable as a Bank of America building.
So even on the Google Maps image, you can see the Takoma in the stone and you can see the medallion on the right.
Right, right. And so I think that is the overarching thing to save right now.
So is there any ability to communicate with them?
Yes, we would have to show up. I'd be willing to do it and say this on our behalf, and
Yeah.
put this forward and suggest a preliminary consultation mode if they want to think about it. It would be very nice to meet with them and have a conversation. But it would be a very community-minded thing for them to do, and they've been here a long time, and I doubt they ever thought of that as a community-minded thing, but it would be
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah,
And it
just
would be
looking at
nice to have an opportunity just to talk with them.
Yeah.
Not in a forum
Right.
necessarily.
Right.
But just to be able to express that, there's
Right.
all these issues that we've voiced about all the different parts of their proposal, but that we've identified one thing that's really of primary concern.
Right,
The other things are, they could be seen more or less as replacement in kind,
right,
because they're replacing signage that already exists in colors with other sign. It's their new logo or whatever, right?
right. And the
But-
signage is better than it was, maybe not as good as we would like it to be, but it's better than the
Yeah.
existing, so
But we can keep pressing them on all this stuff. Monochromatic, show me 500 examples of other historic, but, we can make it as difficult as we choose to. But we have identified that there's this one thing that
Right.
we think would be of most benefit to the building and to the community overall.
Oh, would be
and their
wonderful.
appreciation of that building, and that would be removing all the cover-up, whatever you
Right.
call
Right.
it.
Right.
from
let's
the
have a
front.
look at what's behind there
And then
and
the rest
try and
of,
save it.
the rest of their proposal
looks
is
terrible.
probably okay.
It does.
I
It
mean,
actually
it
looks pretty
just
bad.
looks
I know.
really terrible, and it's
And
like,
it looks out of
why
place on the
wouldn't they
front.
want to celebrate this historic structure
I
and do
know.
it right?
But more importantly, it's covering up our history.
Yeah,
So-
it is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what we're charged
That's-
with, is maintaining.
And
Right.
it's a
History.
Beaux-Arts building.
Yeah.
It's an outstanding resource. It's the only one we have that's Beaux-Arts.
And like we said last time, it's a gateway building. It's
Yes.
like when you're coming into Takoma Park, that's one of the first buildings that you see. So, I mean,
So
This is one we
is-
fight for.
Is that,
Yeah.
I guess, is it permissible for us to have, for someone to have that conversation, not in a forum?
I think there are a couple of options. There's an urgency because it's going
We
to
have to show.
HTC tomorrow.
We have to be there.
So I think that we can, Lorraine,
Absolutely.
you or I could reach out to the staff person who wrote the report saying we have these concerns
Mhm.
ahead of time, so we're not surprising anybody. I can also contact I only have the sign permit representative who had presented to us
Mhm.
last year, to let them know what the concerns are. But I think because it's tomorrow, I think really we need a representative there.
Absolutely.
There's a period of public comments before the commission makes their decision.
I would be happy to do it.
Do you want to do a formal resolution charging Lorraine with what you want to highlight, or do you feel like we've talked it through and,
I think Lorraine is
I think
charged
Lorraine
and
knows,
she.
yeah.
I
I mean, I just think that the most important thing is that they honor
yeah.
their place in history.
Right.
I mean, they own this building. They shouldn't be covering up our history. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And they need to just, I mean, it seems to me like they haven't even paid attention to it. Like it was like boarded up just because somebody thought, okay, we're just going to temporarily hide it. And then they've forgotten about it. I don't know. You know, it just seems really
It's kind of
casual.
It's kind of
It would save them a
bizarre
little
thing
money.
to go,
It really
to go
is.
out of your way to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering what the motivation for
It
it
was
was.
just
Almost like if we
bizarre,
cover this
yeah.
before the SBC, then it makes the building even less what it
Right.
is somehow, because we
Right.
put a thing over it. I don't
And
get
the
it.
original
but
bank there, the
Why would you
Takoma
go to
bank
the
is no
trouble?
longer in business, right? Like they've.
Right.
So I don't,
That's right. It's no
there's-
longer in business.
a competitor.
No,
Right.
no, no.
Right. Exactly.
It's
I mean,
pure,
I just
it's
think,
historical.
you know, they're going to have these big signs, you know, on
Yeah.
the side. Actually, I did see one in Georgetown for the glow exhibit, and it was all white. I think it was all white. It was like, I have to remember where it was, but I mean, they're going to have two signs, fairly big, really well lit, you know, which was my concern about it.
Mhm.
They should like do us right and like celebrate the fact that they own this really beautiful building.
And, you know, if we give on the monochromatic, that's an important thing because I'm pretty sure we learned at the meeting with the sign person that they have done monochromatic colors.
In Georgetown. I
In
think it was in
Georgetown.
I
Yeah.
think it wa- I
I've
think
never
she said
seen
that,
it. We don't
yeah.
have a photo of that or anything like that. But maybe we should do a Google search of banks in Georgetown.
Didn't we
I
ask
tried that.
her? Didn't we
Did you?
ask her
I did. I
to?
didn't find anything, nothing new at least on Google.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, I think there is, I forget, you know, where the Georgetown Glow exhibit happened this year? There's one building around that area, I believe, that has it.
I know someone on the Fine Arts Commission there. He might know. I could ask him.
Right.
But I mean, I think I would be willing to give on their colors. I don't know how you feel if we could
Yeah.
save the front.
Yeah, I don't, to me, the monochromatic, the sign's the sign. Big Bank of America
Right.
in their current, you know, modern logo, that's it.
Right.
Whether it has color or not, to me, doesn't really, you're not doing too much in terms of, you know, preserving the overall character of the building just by making it
Right.
monochromatic.
Right.
But what does get me kind of riled up is covering up the piece on the front. And I think
Yeah.
this is a good
Yeah.
opportunity to
Right.
try and get them to come around to taking all of it off, not just the part they put on recently,
Right.
but take all of that off. And then in return, you know, I think it could
We
be a
are
lot,
all Bank of
could be a lot
America members.
easier, yeah, a lot easier discussion on the other pieces of it. You can still
Right.
ask them if they're willing to consider the things you want, but, you know,
Right.
you might not press it as hard if they're willing to give you the thing that we kind of are in agreement with. It's the primary concern.
It seems to me like the overarching concern is,
And I think that would make the front of that building
Because-
What I'd really like to do is take all the
No, because it
exposed
still has
conduit
the
off
old
of that
sign
building,
on
but
there
that's,
Okay.
on the front.
Right.
that ship sailed, so.
Yeah. The, bear in mind
Yeah,
that the
no, I saw
HPC
it
cannot
white.
regulate
It was a
color.
white sign.
And so if it remains as a historic area work permit, they can't go there. And these are things you negotiate over. But I think our overarching concern is way bigger than that, the front of the building. I mean, I
They're
don't,
not trying to put a sign on the front of the building.
they
I mean,
are.
no, it's like either side, right? They're not putting a
Right.
sign on the front of the building.
No, I think
Right.
they are.
Is it?
Wait, they've
I think
changed
they
it?
are.
That's different from
different,
the original.
That was different
'Cause
from,
that's-
because they only
that's
wanted to do
because
two
they
I'm trying to
only
find
wanted
the,
place.
They
uh,
are. Wait, yeah, is this the front? This is the front. They are trying to put a sign in the front.
You're
No,
saying
that's the
front
ATM.
That
Those
is,
are the ATMs.
this
that's the
is
side.
incorrectly shown, but it's marked front elevation. I know. Let's see if we can.
I thought it was just the two sides.
Yeah. See,
It's
this is
just
the
that-
side.
that's the side.
This is the side. I'm concerned that
I can
they are-
resend the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
The
think they were
HPC
doing
packet, because it
on the front.
includes-
They were just doing two signs on
Well,
either
then
side
why
of
are they
it.
covering up Takoma? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they were,
I think we need to clarify that,
yeah, let me see if I.
especially because it says front
Front.
elevation. Maybe they mean
Right.
this side is the
Oh, but this is.
wide road.
Oh, okay.
This is not the front because, yeah, because you're saying the ATMs are the.
Right. I think they were just doing it on either side of the building and not the front at all,
Yeah,
because that was our biggest concern.
right. So I think we should clarify that. And, but if they could restore the front of the building, take off that white sign,
Right,
not, and restore it,
yeah,
that would be great.
I
Right.
agree.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we are united. All right.
Go get
And
them.
so let's hope we can just engage their enthusiasm to work with us.
Yeah, I think it's just the side. I'm pulling up what they sent
I
us
hope that's
before.
right.
It's the two
I hope
sides.
that's right.
It's at the ATM and it's at the
Right.
Opposite.
side by OMB.
Right. And it's not the front, because the front is where, I don't know what, I remember her saying
The illustration
something.
is there, yeah.
But then why?
See, there's this image
That-
still
that's
shows.
Right.
the whole
That's what I
thing's
don't
covered.
understand.
Beyond me.
Yeah.
Why would you go to the
I
beyond?
saw,
I don't know why they put it in.
yeah, what's that?
cheesy looking thing in
Well,
there.
this is definitely
It's been
an
there.
older image.
Yeah.
The-
Well, that, I'm, you know.
Yeah, it was just,
I'm sure
Lorraine,
they-
their original thing was just
kinda-
for
I mean, does it make a
two,
lot of sense? No, but,
like a-
well, that's not the name, that's the name of a bank, but it's
For
not
the-
our bank. So
for
cover up
just two,
the parts
the
that talk about the
side
bank
here,
and leave Tacoma.
they were gonna put it
Yeah.
there.
But now to cover up,
and-
to go out your way to
and then
cover
they
up
were
the
gonna put
Tacoma
it
is what I
there.
don't get.
And those were the only
The
two
motivation for that, I
places.
don't get.
But you can kind of see,
Yeah.
no, you can't see.
Well, I have that right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's like,
So
Well,
this
that's
was from
good.
yeah, they really
So we're
have
halfway,
covered
so
it
we're
up
partly
since
there.
2020.
So we're
sometime
partly
in the
there
last 2 months.
to get them,
Oh, so
but
yeah.
they're,
Name
co-
and the
see,
medallions
this is when
still
we
show, but
last
what's-
spoke with
yeah,
them.
no, they've totally covered it up.
Well, this is probably newer. That was December
it's like a
10th, right?
This was
It's like an
December
aluminum frame
10.
with
This
like
is
a
just from the
piece of
internet right here.
PVC or
Wow.
So it looks
they've-
like-
They've covered up the whole thing.
It looks like maybe they
And-
removed something to show this, because you can see that it's still sort of
Yeah.
They
discolored.
probably got the signage,
And
the
it's-
signage company to.
Do we
they said
have
We just
the
need something that whites this
ability-
out.
But they need to remove the
So
rest of
use your-
that.
So Lorraine, when you
Yeah.
show
Get
up
parts
tomorrow,
and come up
God
with
bless
a
you,
thing that whites
because
this out.
I
The
can't
whole
believe
thing's
that you're
bizarre.
gonna be able to do it, but when you show up tomorrow, do you just, in the public comments, you say we would like to encourage you to take down
Yes.
the board that is
Yes.
covering up?
I want to establish with staff that they're not proposing to put a sign in the front, and that would be a relief. I'm sorry, it's not?
It's not in the application
Okay.
packet, only the ATM
Okay.
side and the
Okay,
side
good.
close to the adjacent
Okay.
building.
Right.
The east and west side.
So, but the fact that they're boarding up,
Yeah.
if Malcolm saw them board up Takoma now. That's troubling. So,
But even
Yeah, but even
still,
they
I
still
mean,
need to
that
remove the
still
rest
looks
of it.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it looks
you can take it,
like it's a
take it
piece of
off.
'Cause, yeah, I
white.
think
Expose the rest of the
now that
Takoma
I'm seeing that,
Parkway.
I'm pretty sure
And
that
the
that's
other
how I still
medallions
saw it.
down
So
here.
Tacoma is still showing.
Okay.
It's just the rest of this, like what's
Okay.
underneath there.
So that's
Okay.
the original. That's been,
Yeah.
that's been
Park
like that
Because
forever.
I have an image on here where they actually had the whole thing covered up at one point as well, but it looks like they removed some of it just to show Tacoma. But they're still obscuring the original
Yeah,
building.
I don't remember it all covered ever. I always remember it. Isn't that funny? Always remember
But that's
one
on
of
the
them.
internet, right?
Yeah, this is on the internet, so
Yeah.
I don't know when this image was taken.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, the goal is
So-
to preserve the building, preserve the history, and by doing that, we're sort of
Right.
covering up what that is, regardless of what's underneath there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really reasonable thing to just.
Yeah,
Well, this is the opportunity to restore it.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
do their signs on the sides.
And
But
it's engraved.
give us back the front.
It's it's chiseled out.
Etched in
So it's
stone.
not going to be in your face or anything. I mean, people aren't going to be walking by going, "Oh, Tacoma Bank and Savings.
Right. No.
Right.
I want to open up an
Right.
account there." I mean, they're not going to be doing that.
But I think if I understand, so you're going in front of the HPC, right?
HPC.
And they're ultimately going to do what we do, but their version of it.
Yes,
So
but
they're
they
going to
actually issue
accept or
the,
deny.
but they actually issue the historic area work permit.
Okay.
And so staff's report was to recommend approval for the historic
Right.
area work permit as the applicant presented it.
I was
Okay.
just so surprised
know.
over that.
Me too.
But I think if you make the case to them that you're asking
Right.
them to do this small thing, which is remove the piece that's obscuring part of the
Right.
front facade, and
And do some minor restoration if it's
The rest
needed.
of- the
Do
rest
fill
of
in
it
some
will-
holes, nail holes, or
you know,
however
you
they're
won't
holding out.
have an issue with.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's not a
Okay.
hard sales pitch to them.
And Lorraine, you're available to go
I'm good to
tomorrow?
go.
Okay,
Yeah,
great, thank you.
I can go. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All
I
right.
think that's
Yeah.
great.
Great.
It would be great to see it.
Wouldn't it be wonderful
Restored.
to have that back?
Yeah.
How long has that been covered, though?
A long
For a
time.
As
long
long as I've
time.
lived here.
She said that the sign girl with her curly sign or Hurley sign, she said that she thought it'd been covered for 30 years or something.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like a long time. And
I think
I
it-
don't know why, though. She didn't know why.
Yeah, I think it's not a hard sell. I mean, especially because there's a lot of there's this attitude now, I guess, all around the place where people want to restore things and
Mhm.
you know and rehabilitate this kind of craftsmanship that you just don't see anymore. So I think might be this is the time to do it if we're trying if we're trying to get that done, because if we don't say
Well-
anything now, it's not ever going to change.
It's
Yes.
never going to change.
Yeah.
The thing
Yeah.
is that it would be nice to have them work with us on better signage, but this is so much more important,
Yeah.
you know, than those two.
Kind of have to compromise a little bit.
The HPC, you know, has to make a decision with what's before them. They have a staff report that says approve, and they can they don't have to agree with the staff, but this is a new issue because we raised it the last time and none of us caught it wasn't in there.
Right.
So I think it's really important to impart that to the commissioners because it's not in there. And I can do that and say this has emerged as the overarching issue and perhaps a mechanism is to turn this into a preliminary consultation and agree to do it that way and have a discussion instead before you vote on it, because they can't force restoration either under the ordinance. They cannot say you have to restore this.
They can't do it as a condition of the sign
I don't
permit
think
of
they
the
can.
HOP?
I don't think they can force restoration. I mean, if there was a sign going up there, I think that would be a different story.
You don't think that block that covers it is probably the leftovers of a sign at some point in the past?
I don't know when they even put that up ages ago, if they ever got approval for it.
To me, it looks
or-
like it was the base for some
Yeah.
previous iteration of all the banks that have been in that location.
I think it
Oh,
always
yeah,
probably
I
said
think.
'Cause it was
Takoma
Riggs
Park
and then
Bank,
Fleet
but
and then-
when they came in, they decided they would just leave Tacoma, I have a feeling, and just cover up the rest of it.
But
because-
if it was if that piece that blocks the words following Tacoma is the leftover of a former sign, then as part of the
Right.
approval for the hop for the sign, can the
Oh,
commission
oh.
include removal of the defunct stuff
Well, I guess we'll find out.
in order to restore it? Let's try.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to,
Right.
that's a
I mean, I
kind
think
of a
that
clever
makes
way to
sense.
approach it.
Yeah.
And almost taking it out of the sense that we're asking them to do us this favor. And it's more like, no, you gotta get the old junk off,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah, I know it's been up there forever, but
Clean
now's
it
the
up.
time.
But it
Right.
would just be such a wonderful community gesture to do it. You know, it just would be, so. It may mean that we have to change it to preliminary, they have to agree to it being changed as a preliminary, which means they'd be willing to talk to us, and I hope that's the
But,
case.
I mean, I'm just looking at it from a practicality point of view. They're gonna have to have a scaffolding, truck to put up their new signs, so while they have that,
Right.
then
It's a
they
perfect
can
opportunity.
just go to the
Yes.
front and
Yes.
do it. Because
Yes.
otherwise, I mean, if we were just asking them out of the blue to do
Right.
it, then they would have to engage
Right, they would have to
with,
spend the money.
right. So, I mean, these are fairly
Good
high
point.
up. So,
Good point,
while they're installing the new signs, if they could remove
yeah.
while they have the scaffolding truck.
So maybe the board's request is either a preliminary consultation or at least a condition of the approval
If they can make it that way.
that they
And then
remove
I-
this.
I will call
And if they
them.
can't make it that way, then make it a preliminary
Preliminary
consultation.
consultation, right, and I will find out where the technicality is before then.
Do you want to call this HPC staff in the
Yeah,
morning?
I'm
Okay,
happy
thank you.
to
Yeah,
do that,
okay,
yeah, okay.
good.
This is important.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wonder why they covered up their windows too.
Did they,
Oh,
yeah.
Didn't they? They
I
covered
think
up
that's
their
where they have the
windows.
safety deposit
Oh,
box and
yeah.
all that stuff, so I think
Exact.
It was
maybe.
So
rigged
it's
up a long
always
time
been-
ago.
yeah. Yeah. That's just
So-
interesting.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
We're good, okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
All right, we'll go ahead and
Yeah, can I
adjourn.
just ask something informal of this? And I'm willing to take this on, but through the process